In one quiet coastal town in Japan, people began to die in a way no one could explain. At first, it was the cats. They started acting strangely. They ran in circles, screamed for no reason, convulsed, and suddenly jumped into the sea as if something inside them had gone completely insane. Locals called it the dancing cat disease. It looked disturbing, but people tried not to think too much about it. Then the same thing began happening to humans. Children were the first. A boy suddenly couldn't hold his chopsticks. A girl stopped walking straight. Adults complained about numb hands, blurred vision, and constant dizziness. Within weeks, some of them lost the ability to speak. Others were trapped in uncontrollable seizures. And many simply died. This town was Minamata, a peaceful fishing community. Families lived off the sea. Every morning, boats returned with fresh fish. Every evening, families gathered for dinner. Life had followed the same rhythm for generations. Everything depended on the water. And everything was about to be poisoned by it. There was only one large industrial facility in Minamata, a chemical factory that gave work to thousands of people. It was the heart of the town's economy. Without it, there was no future. For years, the factory had been dumping its wastewater directly into the bay. Everyone knew it. And everyone accepted it. It was part of the system. Nobody imagined that this water would slowly turn into a weapon. Doctors were confused. The disease didn't fit any known diagnosis. It didn't spread like an infection. Blood tests showed nothing obvious. X-rays were useless. Patients lost control over their bodies while their minds remained trapped inside. They were fully aware of what was happening to them. And that made it even more terrifying. Then scientists finally discovered the truth. The bodies of the victims contained extreme levels of methylmercury. The poison was everywhere, in the fish, in the shellfish, in the water, and eventually in the people. The source was unmistakable. It was the factory. The reports reached the authorities. And then nothing happened. The factory kept operating. The wastewater kept flowing. The poisoned fish kept returning to people's plates. And the town kept eating it. Months passed. Then years. The most horrifying part came later, when children began to be born already poisoned. Babies entered the world unable to cry properly. Their muscles were twisted. Their eyes couldn't focus. Their bodies shook uncontrollably. These children had never eaten a single fish in their lives. They were infected before they even took their first breath. Mothers blamed themselves. They thought they had done something wrong during pregnancy. They didn't know that their own bodies had already become carriers of poison. Families started demanding answers. Some tried to speak publicly. Many were silenced. People who protested lost their jobs. Doctors who insisted on the truth were pressured. Entire families were socially isolated. The official statement remained unchanged for years. The cause of the disease is unknown. Inside government offices and corporate reports, however, the truth had already been written in black and white. The factory continued to grow richer. The town continued to grow sicker. By the time the disaster was officially acknowledged, more than a decade had passed. Thousands were affected. Hundreds were dead. Generations were permanently damaged. Only then did compensation begin. Only then did cleanup start. Only then did justice pretend to exist. But justice arrived too late. Minamata disease became one of the most horrifying examples of industrial poisoning in human history. Not because of how fast it happened, but because of how long it was allowed to continue. People were not killed by an accident. They were killed by a decision. A decision to remain silent. A decision to choose profit over life. A decision to look away while an entire town slowly died. Imagine living in a place where the food on your table, the water in your glass, and the air you breathe are slowly destroying you, and the people in power already know it. They just don't believe your life is expensive enough to stop the system. Minamata is no longer just a town. It is a warning. Because the most dangerous disasters in history are not the ones caused by earthquakes or storms. The most dangerous ones are the disasters that people see coming and deliberately allow to happen.